Hiya, it's Ali here. I'm doing a video for Stamps by Me. I don't know how long or short it's going to be, depends on how long I'm waffling. But I wanted to start and do a little series of videos. Now, I'm not a fantastic colourist, I don't profess to be the best in the world, but I wanted to show how easy it is to use these lovely gossip pens from Stamps by Me, and to be able to achieve really good colouring. And if I can do it, anyone can. And I just wanted to do a series of videos using some different stamps from Tony, to just show how lovely they are and what you can achieve. So I hope you'll bear with me. I just want to go through a few bits and pieces as I'm going along. Important things when you're using these lovely pens, you're investing in them. So a good thing to invest in as well is a good paper to stamp onto, and in my opinion the Nina is the best card to stamp onto. It's absolutely amazing, it's crisp, it's super smooth, and it's absolutely fantastic to colour onto as well. Always have something underneath when you're using alcohol pens to colour onto. Don't colour straight onto a glass mat or onto a table, because the alcohol ink does soak through, and it can cause staining where you don't want any staining. The first thing that I would recommend that you do when the ink, use Memento, which is this. They have a whole range of colours, so I use in the main Tuxedo Black and London Fog, but I do have a whole range of other colours as well. The reason for this is because it doesn't react with the alcohol in your gossip pens, therefore it won't allow your colour to bleed. So that's a very, very important point to make as well. Again, an important point to make is don't just use your colours blind out of your storage. I really, really highly recommend doing some swatches. Now, these are actually available to download off these Stamps by Me shop website. So if you go there and pop it into the search engine or the search bar at the top, and it'll come up, and there's a whole host of different ones. There's the ones that you can use for the 6-pack. There's the ones that you use for the 12 packs, and then I've also got the 60 pen set as well. Okay, so I do highly recommend that, because when you're looking at the pens themselves, although the colour on the end identifies whether it's a pink or a grey or a purple, black, etc., it doesn't identify its absolute colour. So you could think you're picking it up and it's fairly light, and it may be slightly darker. So be aware of that as well. Anything else that I can think of to just... I think that's more or less the important parts, to sort of get you going, because the whole point is to have fun. When I sit and colour, I can colour for hours and just forget what I'm doing, or not forget what I'm doing, but sort of hours go by, and my tea goes cold and that kind of thing, and I get up and I think, oh, I need to go to loo, and it's a really, really lovely mindful thing to do. And when you've got images such as these from Tony, whether it be a floral, an IMALA, they're just fantastic, and they're so good. And the more practice you do, obviously the better that you become, and more confident that you become with your skills, and you can move on and on and on. So for this particular one, I'm going to shut up now, so to speak. For this particular one, I have identified the colours that I'm going to use, and as I use them, I will say them. But there'll also be a little pen that comes about sort of here. Where's my thing? About here. I'll have a pen that'll come up that'll have it on. If I'm doing a slow-mo video, i.e. talking whilst I'm doing it, which on some occasions I will do if I want to talk to you about particular things. And then on other ones, as I get more into doing the videos, I might just speed them up so that you don't have to hear my voice at all, which would be great. So I'm going to make a start. what I did with this elephant. Now this elephant is one of the releases from the IMALA, and it's the elephant, and she's beautiful, completely one of my favourite. Well, they're all my favourite, but I always say every time a collection comes out, oh, this is the best collection, and the next collection comes out and it's, oh, this is the best collection. But I mean, look at this beautiful elephant. She's gorgeous. So I'm going to colour her in for you, using the colours that I've chosen. As I say, as I do go along, I'll make this one an as we go along video, so it could get to being a long one, but if you want to fast forward or speed it up, yeah, you carry on and do that, that's totally fine. So the colours that I've identified to colour in the elephant itself are in the greys, and I have chosen to use CG2, CG4 and CG6. Now they are actually in the cool greys. No, not the cool greys, they're in the greys pack of 6. So in that you have a green grey, a cool, well, all the rest of them are cool greys, but they're different varying shades of a cool grey. So as I said, I've chosen the CG2, and then out of the CG4 and CG6 out of here, and the CG2 is the cool grey, which you'll find in the nature set of 12 of Tony's packs. So I've identified those 3, and we'll start. And what I'm going to do is use, now the way I kind of colour, there's no rules, everybody does it in different ways, but the way I do it is I will always lay down the lightest colour first, and then I will go in with the shadow and create the depth, and then go again in with the colour that's the lightest and just blend it all together. So I'll start with this ear on this side. So that means that I need to use, I'm going to use CG2 first. Okay, I shall go back on there. That luckily there will be depth going in there. I picked up the wrong one to start with. Good start here. So I'm literally just laying down the colour first. Don't forget this alcohol pen, it will dry back a little bit lighter. So the other thing as well, what I've done with this, just to let you know, is I've stamped this particular one out, and then I've also embossed as well. So she's got a lovely embossed, there you go, she's got a lovely embossed thing to her as well. So there is one thing that does quieten me down and shuts me up, is when I do the colouring and then the tongue comes out as well. Do you ever find that? Now the thing with the embossing as well is very helpful when you're colouring, because it kind of keeps you in the lines as well, so it's good. So that's the left ear done. So as I say, I've just laid down the lightest colour first, like so. Okay. And the other thing with these beautiful Gossip pens, they are refillable, so you can get every single colour to refill, so it's a pen for life. You only buy your sets once, and to me it's a no-brainer really. There's longevity, it's a lifetime pen, it's great quality. I mean, it's so substantial, it's lovely to hold, it's lovely to use, it's an absolute pleasure to colour with. It's got a rubber polymer nib, a photo polymer nib. It's gorgeous. And the other thing with all of Tony's stamps is she does a lot of the hard work for you. They're indications of where your depth and your shadows, etc., should go. They're lined out for you, which makes, again, the process of colouring so much more easier as well. And so all you have to do is just enjoy creating. I started colouring, well, I bought pens years ago, and I made the effort to start colouring, and quickly got dissatisfied with it and frustrated because I was looking all over the place, all these colouring videos, and they were using sort of 4, 5 and 6 colours to gain the depth and what have you. Really, you only need 2. Or, well, you don't only need 2, but to start with, the way that these pens are put together, the colour families are so close. You know, they don't jump to a completely dark colour, they graduate quite nicely. If you see what I mean. So that's your CG2. Do it with the brush. Okay, and then you've got your CG4, which is your depth colour, if you like, you know, your colour for, and then an even deeper one, which is your CG6. And I like those two because they are totally blendable, because when you go back in with your CG2, you can actually blend and create the middle tone, which is, you know, your depth that you need. So CG2. So I'm going to use my CG4. Okay, and I'm using the brush nib. So, and all I'm going to do is pop in. Now, where these are giving you the guidelines for your depth. Okay, give your, like so, and then of course go around the outside, because your outside are always going to be. Okay, and then down the inside there. Okay, so then you go back with your CG2 and you just blend that again. Okay, and each time you put a layer down, you're obviously going to deepen your initial colour. Okay. Like so. just let that dry. Okay, then go back to your CG4. And you're just going to do the same again, just put the definition in. So it's going around the outside. Okay. Like so. And then pop back in. With your first colour, which is your CG2. I mean, one of the things that you can absolutely do is just use one colour. Then let the alcohol dry and then go over the top with your original colour, so that you're only ever using one, but you're just putting definition on. So just let that dry. Let me see. Okay, and then so I'll show you what I mean by the definition side of it, just using the same colour, by just going in with the same colour. Onto the trunk. So just going to, because what I want to do is have where the sun's coming down and that there's some light catching on the trunk. So you just flick just like gentle flicks. Obviously under here is going to be darker because of ours, but always don't give up on it if you look at it and think, oh, it doesn't look right or whatever, because invariably once it's dry, once the alcohol has evaporated, it's perfect. If you look, this is what it does. It goes through the back, so always onto a piece of paper underneath. So all I'm doing is creating the shadow to the left hand side by creating an arc movement going up, which is keeping this side. Can you see? We're creating the depth to the left of his trunk and maintaining a light feature here, and then I'm going to do a right-sided arc, I beg your pardon, just to bring the trunk so that it's got that shape of a trunk, and it's really a case of following the shape of the item that you're drawing, and it'll always obviously these are going to stay white, so I'm just going to go round again with the same light colour, because it's constantly, you can go over as many times as you want and you can create that depth that you want. Can you see? So you've got the lights in the centre and each time you go over, you're creating the depth and smoothing out your colouring. And all you do is just look at your image and gauge where the light and dark is going to be. And as I say, you can go over and build up. You can go over and build up many times once it's evaporated, and it will continue to deepen the image. So she's looking gorgeous, isn't she? Okay, so I'm just popping in, maintaining that depth there. There we go. So I would personally be happy with that for the moment, and I'll let it continue to evaporate. I'm going to move on to the flowers. Okay, so that was CG2, CG4 and CG6 that I used. Oh no, I didn't use 6 actually. I decided to use just 2 colours to show that it's a 2-step colouring system, and that you don't need to have multiple layers of colours and worrying about going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. So I'm going to go and attack the flowers now. So I identified some colours for the flowers. I basically pulled out all of my pink collection, so I'm probably going to use the Cosmos and the pastel pink, but we'll have a look how that goes together when I pop it down, if I want to do it that way. And then the leaves, I've identified colours G46, GY59 and GY175 in the greens. So I'm going to just grab the RP7. Okay, and all I do is on a piece of paper next to it, I'll just pop down a couple of flicks of colour. So I wanted to look at RP7 and RP17. I just wanted to see what the sort of combination was with that. Page 17. Let's look at the 198. That's the tender pink. This is the tender pink. So I think that goes with that a bit more as a 2 blend. Right, okay, I'll go with these 2 and see how we go. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I told you earlier. I'm going to just lay down one colour. Okay, so it's laying down the very first colour, which is the lightest. That is the RP7. Okay, I'm going to do that with this one, which is the flower. Okay, so with these 2 flowers, and then I'll pick another combination of pink for this one. So concentrating on this now, I'm now going to go back to the RP198, which is the darker one, and I'm just going to pop in on the end and in the middle. And it's just little flicks. Okay, and then back to my RP7, and I'm literally just going to blend two together. Like so. So you get a lovely, really lovely blend there. I'm going to go back to my RP198 and I'm going to use the other side, which is a bullet nib, and that's another really for me important part of these pens, because usually when you get an alcohol pen, you'll have a brush nib and a bullet nib, sorry, a chisel nib. And a chisel nib, whilst it's great for doing large areas, I've never found myself doing massively large areas, and I always find that it does still create an edge and not a nice smooth lay down of colour. So the only thing that I have found that the chisel is really good for is edging any of my work, and it's a waste of money, absolute waste of money, because it tends to end up that you don't use a chisel nib. So on here it's a bullet nib, so you've got a gorgeous little bullet nib there, which is going to get into tiny areas to create smaller pieces of work. You can use it for pointillism projects. You can use it for going around and lining the outside of a project. It's just got so much more value for you as a bullet nib compared to having a chisel nib that you wouldn't use. So your pen is completely usable from both ends. So the point I'm trying to make is that there, I don't want, the bullet nib would have sorry, my brush nib would have been too big. I would have been ending up coming up here. So I only want to just nip out, if you like, with the darker colour. And this allows me just to have that little bit more control on how much colour that I actually lay down onto that flower. And again, I'm just going, oops daisy, with the brush nib. To meet those up. Okay, and then what I will more than likely do later is just pop a little few dots in, just to make the flower look a little bit more. But if you see, from the lay down of the first colour to a nearly finished, you can see that it's created, you can see the curve, how the flower would be. So, and it's just so easy, just two colours. So I'm going to start working on the top one, and again, so I'm just going to flick out. And if you take your time, it's not a race, just enjoy the process. It may be that takes many layers of the same two colours, so you're not messing about with 3 and 4 colours trying to do it. But now, you know, now that you've popped that in, you now need to go back and blend it. Yeah, so you blend your two colours together, and if you can do this whilst the ink's still wet, that's again another point to make. Whilst your ink is still juicy on the paper, the easier it'll blend as well. You won't have to keep laying colour down to blend. So the wetter it is, the easier it'll blend when you put your first colour back on, just to tie the two colours together. And again, so you want a little bit, you're creating your depth now. And then I just want the darkness on the out, you know, at the edge of the flower as well, like so. Again, so for the second time, oops, daisy, wrong side. The second time I'm going to blend that because they're still quite wet, so your blending time's open. I just want to make that slightly darker to create that inside. Okay, let's make that a bit. So again, bring that down to your red. I mean, that's had a bit of time to dry, but not to worry. Okay. Now, with a blender pen, I am going to blend. I'm not going to blend because that is not how I use a blender pen. I'm actually going to get rid of that overfill, if you like. So we use the colourless blender, and although it says it's a blender, it's not actually used to blend. So to get rid of just the over bit, you just use your colourless blender and you push your colour towards the inside, so you can see that's corrected that mistake. And then all I do is then just swish it from side to side, and it's corrected that where it's gone over, and that will, the alcohol will dry. So you do the same, that little one there, and again once the alcohol's dried, it's going to correct that there, and I've got a little bit there. Swish from side to side. Be careful not to catch your blender onto the bit that's colouring, because otherwise you'll start creating a mess, because it'll just go in and sort of start rubbing it out, if you will, like using an eraser. Okay, so that's that flower done. So I'm going to choose another couple of colours. So we've got let's have a look. Let's have a look for R28. I want to have a look at. So let's see. That's quite light, so I might not do that one. So then we've got P84, and we've got R5. Okay, yeah, then we'll use these two. So the P84 is the lighter, so I'm just going to lay that colour down like so. I always lay down a flat colour, or a flat layer, sorry, of the lightest colour. Okay, and always turn your work. You don't have to. A lot of people I've watched colouring and they're struggling to colour like, and it's like, oh, move your paper. Don't struggle. Make your project work for you, not the other way around. Okay, so whilst that's drying, I'm going to put down my first layer of green for the leaves. So I chose the GY59, okay, and GY175. So I think I like those two. I also chose G46. Right, so I think I may have used that as a shipple, and I'll show you what I'll do. It's not making it very complicated. So I'm going to use I'm going to use GY175, which is the lime green, and that is what I'm going to use as my sort of first layer, flat layer. Okay. Again, just move your work round, make it work for you. Don't make it hard work. And so this is just the first video of many. So I thought I'd get sort of the housekeeping out of the way and do a full video that would address things as they come up whilst you're colouring, that I can sort of point out. For example, you know, how to get rid of a mistake, about the layering, about the two colours, so that in future I can just pop a video on, you know, all the little tips and tricks that there are, and I can just completely just go through it and run it through as a, you know, a fast video, so that you're seeing what I'm doing, but when you see what I'm doing, you'll remember from what I've said on how to create it. Okay, so that's the GY175 down. So then I've got the GY59, and I'm going to pop in with some shading. So you'll always have shading from the bottom. Okay. And again, you're kind of able to see a natural shade. So you'd always shade up from under there, because that would be where you have natural sort of shade. And then just pop in with a bit of sort of, there you go. Just pop back again, make it a little bit. And it doesn't have to be bob on perfect, do you know what I mean? Okay, so then go back to your first colour and just blend, and it just gets rid of the the line that kind of stops there, do you know what I mean? All you're doing is just blending the two colours together at that line. Takes the harshness off. So you've got your blend, but there's no harsh line where you've suddenly stopped. So go back to your first colour again, your GY59, and again just flick out, deepen that shade that you created originally. This is why you do it a couple of times, because your first couple of colours that you lay down are your sort of starters, if you like, and it becomes more sort of refined as you go along. And again, it's not difficult. I'm just scribbling, as you can see. So you've popped a little bit more. Now all I'm doing, I know I said I wouldn't do a third colour, however all I'm going to do with that third colour is just at the base. I just want to create that. I want to deepen that green. You'll be able to see what I mean in a minute. I just want to really deepen the green on the edges, because the two colours that I have used are pretty close, which is fabulous. That's exactly what I want, but I just want that little bit more definition as well. And whilst it was still quite wet, it's allowed me, can you see, it's allowed me to just go in, and it's partially started blending itself. So you go back to your very original colour, your lightest colour, which was your GY175. Okay, and then where that line is, that's all you're doing. You see that was like that. All you're doing is just blending it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there, done. And you've blended it, and you're getting rid of, you see, 1, 2, 3, just getting rid of that where it's come together. That's it. So simple and easy and not frustrating. And can you see beautiful colours and how the greens, and where I wanted that little bit more definition where it came away from the flower. I'm just going to do that middle flower now because that's dried. So my lightest colour, again, you've got to always refer to your palette, because it's not always sort of obvious. Okay, so I'm just popping some depth in with the same colour, and I'm going over the top of that with a deeper colour, and because the ink's wet underneath, it'll just allow that to blend in and blend together without a massively harsh. Because all you're going to do is take your first colour, which is your P84, and you're going to do what I did with the leaves. You're going to go to where the line is and blend it out, and it's smooth and seamless. There you go. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit, and here again, just to want to deepen that cup. There we go. So what you're doing is you're creating that effect of looking into the flower. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so the first colour that we used on the other, I'm just going to blend those two together, those two lines, so there's no harshness. The same here. This is the RP7 and I'm using that to smooth out those lines. That's all. And that alcohol, see, once you've wet it, and the wetter it is, the nicer it'll blend. Can you see? So you keep blending and blending and you get that beautiful blend, and there's just absolutely no lines. Okay, so to finish off, I'm going to take a black and I'm using a Unipin fine line marker. Okay, it's water and fade proof and it's a pigment ink, and these obviously are sort of tropical flowers, so all I'm going to do is this. So it's just to pop a few dots in. Like so. Okay, just to put a little bit of realism, because you tend to get those on your tropical flowers. Like so. It just brings it a little bit more to life, in my opinion. Okay. And in the centre of those, I'm going to pop a little gem when I go to create it into a card. So I'm just going to pop that up a little bit. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you got something out of it to help you. I think what I am going to do is the greys that I got, I'm just going to I'm just going to go over this again and just take away some of those harsh lines. I'll go back and create that in a second. There we go, that's just smoothed that out a bit. I wasn't overly happy with these, but because the alcohol had, you know, is dried now, I can see. There we go. I'm much happier with that now, because once the alcohol is fully dried, you're able to see the final look. It takes a minute or two for the alcohol to disperse, and then you can see what the effect's going to be. So I just want to take that. I want to take it away from looking like it's not being blended. So it's still got the lightness in, but it's there. I'm a lot happier with that now. And again, as I say, you can keep going over to create that. The further out you go, the more of a smoother look you get, if you know what I mean, when you're blending it out. So when you're popping out your shade, if you go out that little bit further when you're flicking, it will look less like a harsh line when it comes to here, if you know what I mean. So just, and using this sort of where your brush is, if you just go like that, you're taking it out a little bit further, but you can see it looks a lot nicer than just coming to an abrupt end in a straight line. So it's giving it a shape. That's a lot better. I'm a lot happier with that now. And again, any where you've gone over a little bit, like I have here, you use your colourless blender and you push the nib gently towards the edge of your work. It's a lot easier when you've got the embossing on it, because it's not going to go into the colour inside. If you just use the memento and haven't embossed it, just be careful to make sure that you do only go up to the line of the ink, otherwise you'll start creating sort of dots. Let me show you. So imagine that's your, this is the very light, plus don't do this actually, because this paper is copy paper and it's just soaking up. But if you get up to the edge of there, that's great. But if your pen starts touching, yeah, you're actually going to start bleaching out. Yeah, so where I've caught that, imagine that was here and I'd corrected it and gone in, I'd have started creating a bleaching effect in my image, which I don't want. Okay, I've just noticed a leaf that I haven't. There we go. Okay, so I've got another bit of that, and again it's a couple of minutes and it will evaporate, will the alcohol ink, even this ink, blender ink. Okay, now I've got a bit there as well, haven't I? Okay, so just use that with care, that technique. I think the best thing to say is try not to make a mistake in the first place. Right, I'm going to stop yappering now, and I'm going to call this done, and then I can create a nice project out of it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to be using a lot more of Tony's images and coming to you with videos of how I do it. So it's not right, it's not wrong, it's not, do you know what I mean? It's how I colour and how I'm trying to sort of show you, and I don't think that that's come out too bad at all. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to another video with you really soon. Thank you very much. Bye.